All right. So in any case, this tool called Quizizz, it operates on a pretty common model of a series of questions and then the answer choices. And so students will see a question and see up to 4 answer choices, and they will pick the correct choice in their minds and then move on to the next question. They will receive immediate feedback as to whether the answer choice they selected was right or wrong. But they don't necessarily get told which answer was the correct answer, just that their answer was not correct. The key with using a tool like this, which is pretty much limited to multiple choice, is picking really good distractor answers. And the distractors are the wrong answers. Because if we pick those really well, each wrong answer can tell us something about the type of misunderstanding the students who chose that answer are experiencing. So that is one caveat I will say, since this is not an open-ended questioning tool. There are some other tools that do that. This is very much based on multiple choice questions with usually 4 answers. The key will be having really good answers that are going to give you information about what it is the students need to know or understand better in order to have correct answers. Hi, I'm going to put the link to this slide deck in the chat. This slide deck is your support document. Thank you for joining us. So this is self-paced. It is often done in the classroom, but it can also be assigned to be done at home or anywhere where the students have internet, anytime that they have internet. So it does not have to be delivered in a live in-person setting. Although this is the kind of tool that you could use during a live class session in Zoom. Oh, thank you, Nicole, I appreciate it. So this is designed to go both ways. You can set it up to be what's called an asynchronous activity, meaning students can access it and do it anytime they're on the internet, but it can also be a live or synchronous activity that you do during a class meeting. There are teachers who actually use it to provide new instructional content, and then it provides some of the checks for understanding along the way. These questions are folded in with their presentation of new material, but it's also obviously used for review as well as for assessment purposes, depending on how you do it. So I cannot take credit for a lot of these slides. Quizizz does provide a slide deck for training purposes, and I actually decided I didn't need to reinvent the wheel, so I selected which slides from their slide deck I would like to keep, and then I did add a few of my own. So unlike some of the formative assessment tools you might have seen, like Kahoot, which I also love, but it's differently structured, students actually have the time to respond at their own pace. Kahoot is very much driven by answer correctly, but also be the fastest one to have the correct answer. So for some students, that actually causes a bit of breakdown because they want time to read, process each of the answer choices, and then make a choice. As a result of that, some people do find that their students focus more on their answers and on the content than on just hitting the button as fast as they can. But also, there are some updates, including read aloud questions. I don't think that works in other languages, but if your questions are in English, they can actually click to have the question, and I believe also the answer choices read out loud to them. And this can be very helpful for our students who need that additional support. You might have heard me mention this earlier. One of the nice things about this tool is that you don't have to start from scratch. You can build a quiz completely from scratch on your own, but there's actually a really robust bank of quiz questions. And from that bank, you can pull in an entire Quizizz activity into your account to use, or you can select questions. And what's really interesting about this tool, and not typical, you can actually easily select questions from multiple other Quizizz activities. So you can pick 2 from this Quizizz activity and then keep scrolling to look for another question you like, and pick 1 question from someone else's Quizizz activity and then keep scrolling, and then you can add your own. Anything that you pull in or copy, whether you take in an entire Quizizz that has already been built, or you only take in individual questions, you can then edit. So sometimes you'll find as you read the questions and answers, you'll say, I do like that question, but really for my purposes, I need one of those answer choices to be different. And that's fine. You can actually edit that answer choice, or you can edit the question or edit all the choices. It is really easy to find Quizizz because it is searchable. And then it's also easy to share. So if you are using Google Classroom, there is a button to just send it to Google Classroom. If you're using Remind, then you can send students a code through Remind. If you're using another process, they do have just a link and code feature. So if you want to send it out through Class Dojo or through mass email, you could put the link and code to the quiz in there. Because it is all multiple choice, the results come in instantly because there's nothing for you to grade. All right. As I mentioned earlier, you can get reports for each student as well as the class summary. This also has a feature that allows you to tag standards. That varies based on the subject areas that you teach, whether or not you'll be able to easily find standards to use, but it can work for a lot of our teachers. And that way you could actually disaggregate the data by the standard that each question addressed. You can export the results, and you can also go back in and look at the progress for every Quizizz that your student has done and kind of see an overall report for your students. So as I had said earlier, it can be used for formative assessment, warm-ups, exit tickets, and so on. There are times where it can be used for direct instruction. And so you can present information and then ask questions, for example. We'll be using it a lot in this setting as kind of a take-home kind of review or practice or formative assessment tool, because it does have a feature that allows it to be done outside of the classroom at any time that the students connect with it. And some do use it for formative assessment. Obviously, I would caution you against that because there's no way for you to know if it's all multiple choice questions. So it's difficult to write a multiple choice question whose answer can't just be Googled. And there's no way for you to know if that's important to you. There's no way for you to know whether or not the students used the same device or a different device to Google the answers and then come back to this assessment and put the answer in. So the grade that they get may or may not really be reflective of their true knowledge and proficiency in that topic. But if teachers choose to do so, they could use a tool like this to quickly administer a multiple choice assessment and get a score back. So let's actually, well, we'll see what it looks like a little bit from the teacher's end before you experience your own. And I'm going to show this in real time a little bit later, but as you can see here on the right, there's a search bar, but you can also click a subject area to search to start, and you'll start to see immediately underneath that some, like if they clicked mathematics, there's some immediate responses. You can refine that search by putting in some terms that would help kind of narrow it down to the discrete area of mathematics that you wanted to work on in practice. So you could click on any one of those quizzes underneath there in order to open up the questions and decide if you want to pull in the whole quiz or just grab some of the questions. But once you've created your quiz, whether you started from scratch or built it using other existing questions, you just need to decide if you're assigning it for homework or if you're going to do it live. So in our current situation, doing it live would mean doing it during a Zoom meeting, and teachers are doing that, so it can work well. Otherwise, you would set it up as a homework assignment so that it gives them a code that they can access anytime. All right, so we're going to try one right now, and hopefully, I might have to have you try one of mine. Let me see if this will give you a code in a second. If you are comfortable opening up a new tab on your internet right now from Zoom, or even going to your phone, you could also go from your phone. So I'm going to go classic mode, by the way. We're not going to make it a test. We won't do team. I just want to show you classic mode. And this is a live version as opposed to the homework version. You can play on a phone, or you can play on your computer. So what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of, there we go. So on the screen, you can see that you're going to need to open the URL that's called joinmyquiz.com, and then you're going to need to enter this code. So I'm going to wait a little bit and see if any of you are able to join me today. Again, you should be able to do it on a phone, a tablet, or your same computer that you're watching Zoom on. And what I'm looking at in the lower left corner, I'm looking to see if anybody has joined. Someone joined. And as you can see, you can give yourself pretty much whatever name you want. You may want to therefore, especially if you're not sending it out via Google Classroom, if you're sending it out some other way, like Remind or a link through class mass email, oh no, I'm so sorry, a link through class email and so on, you might want to instruct your learners to please provide their first name and last initial or something so that you know who it is, so that you can follow up on their support, on their work, right? If you need to. All right, we have almost 13 people in the room now. Hold on, I didn't hear my speaker must be too low. Hold on a second. I'm gonna put if Nicole hasn't already done so, I'm gonna put the support document in the chat. Thank you, you're awesome. Thanks, Nicole. All right, we're gonna see if anybody else is going to try to join us. You would get there again, either on the same computer you're using now, open up any internet browser you'd like and go to joinmyquiz.com and then type in the game code 454466, which I should be able to put into the chat for you. Thank you. Look at that. We have a good crowd in here. Good job. So we've got about 9 of our 13 people in here. If you are not comfortable joining but would prefer to just observe through the Zoom window, that is fine also. Hello, hello. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And it's okay, this is being recorded, so you'll kind of see this process later. Now remember, this is for doing it live. So you'll notice I picked that we're gonna play it live right now. It put up this link, so you would be able to see it, of course, and your students would see it in the Zoom window as well if you chose to do this. And then I also provided the game code because that link is a generic link. Ah, thank you, Elaine. That link is a generic link, and they need a code in order to get to your specific game. So here we go. I did not design this one. I'm using the one that they picked. If you wish to hear the background music, you can actually go ahead and do that. You do need to be looking at your game screen, whether it's on your phone or your computer, because all I am seeing is how people are doing. If I hop over to questions, it's showing me how many people have answered each question so far because it's giving you the questions in random order. At the top, it's also showing me the overall accuracy right now is 91%. Oh, it just went down to 83, darn it. So it's showing me the overall accuracy and everything right now as you are playing. And this again is in live mode. So I just grabbed a screenshot. I'm gonna add that to my slide deck. And I'm going to add a little shot of the leaderboard also. Oops. So I'm going to go to my leaderboard again because I have 2 tabs I can look at. And as you can see, it's showing me my leaderboard right now. And while you're all still playing, okay. So the whole time you're playing, it's letting me know, for example, on every question, I can actually look to see, hold on, my mouse froze. Nope, I'm frozen. Okay. I can usually scroll down, there we go, to see, for example, that so far on question two, 8 people got it correct and 1 got it incorrect. But on question 1, it's almost half and half, like 5 got it correct and 4 got it wrong. So I can actually get some information in real time really quickly. I also know that we're not done because there are some of them don't have 9 responses yet. So all 9 answered, the poll question, which is one type of question. There's multiple choice and checkbox questions, as well as poll questions. And when everyone answers all 9, ooh, we have one question that every single person got correct. Ooh, 2 that every single person got correct. Bravo. Nice job. Okay. All right. So we are finishing up the accuracy. The overall accuracy is actually pretty good. We're at so far 89% accuracy on this. Poll questions do not count towards accuracy because it's not fair to mark people right or wrong for their opinions. So they were not included in a score. Okay. But it's letting me know kind of where we're at. Okay. And you can, in your live mode, you can choose to show, as you might, if you come back into towards the Zoom window, you can choose to show or not show the leaderboard, which has names on it. So you could just go over to questions where you can kind of see at a glance how people are doing without showing anybody's names, if you prefer. Okay, it's showing me that 8 of my 9 students are done. So like one student has at least 1 or 2 more questions to answer, is what it's indicating. Okay, but nicely done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end the game. So if you didn't get to finish, it's okay, no problem. You'll notice that if people got kicked out, it is showing the game code again, but it doesn't show the link, the joinmygame.com link. It doesn't show that. So I'm going to end game. Am I sure I want to end the game? Yes, I am sure. I'd like to end the game, please. So now that I end the game, it puts up a leaderboard with my people. Woohoo! Congratulations, everybody. So it's going to give me that leaderboard. And now what it's going to show me also, how many people got 100%. And it's asking me if I'd like to play again, or should we go ahead and go to a review of the questions. In addition, it's giving me specific information about each student, and I can download these results to my computer so that I can take a look at them later. Because if you close this one, well, you can't, there's a reports window as well. So it's okay if you close it. So you can download the results, but in a little bit, you'll see that there's also a reports window where you can get all of your scores. If you wanted to, though, what you can do is turn on review questions after you're done playing. This wouldn't work in the homework mode, but this does work in the live quiz mode. Okay, and what this will tell me is it'll give me a chance to talk with my class about the particular areas of misunderstanding and how well people did finding the correct answer, right? So there are customizable memes. They are generally extremely family friendly and appropriate, but there's a couple of different sets. Like there's my favorite is one of the animal based ones. They tend to be really funny, that they come up after students answer a question. They get a meme, depending on if they got the question right or wrong. And I don't remember if I remember to turn that on yours. So I can't remember if you got a meme each time you answered a question or not. We know nobody got this part. They didn't select that. That's a good sign. So nobody in our group thought that self-paced questions were not a feature. So good job. And nobody in this group thought that individual feedback and results were not a feature. So that's a good job. That means the first part of the session we did today, you got some good information. You got rock memes. Awesome. I hope they were good. All right. So then you can go on and review the next question. Can you spell the name of this tool? And it's not easy to spell correctly because of the number of Z's. So I can see that. This would be, oh, let me go back. I'd prefer a cup of coffee first would actually be an example of a badly written distractor. It doesn't tell me any information about why the student doesn't know how to spell it. The first one, even the second one really doesn't. Some ones that have maybe some S's included or even spelled like the word quizzes in English, like multiple quizzes, would give me more information to help me be able to decide what needs to happen. Okay, nice job, everybody. So this would allow you as a teacher, if you do it during a live setting, you can actually go back through the questions and have a conversation with your students, including engaging them in that conversation as to why do you think some of our students today might have picked this answer? What would have helped, what information would help them to choose the right answer next time, for example? I will try to do that. I know I'm trying to, well, this one won't help. I'm going to see if I see good ones in here. So basically a strong, of course I don't have an answer right in front of me right this second, but the question was, would you give an example of a strong distractor? So I'm going to stick to what I know. I taught French. And so a strong distractor in French would usually include, in any subject actually, a strong distractor typically includes common mistakes, because those mistakes come from very specific kinds of misunderstandings. So whether your subject is math or science or English and so on, you want the correct answer to be there, but you want at least some of the distractors to actually be the exact kinds of answers, wrong answers that students typically give. In all of our years of teaching, we have seen some of the same wrong answers because they are caused by the same misunderstanding or gap in knowledge. So for me, in a language class, for example, we tend to have things like masculine, feminine errors and so on. So it would be easy, obviously, to just pick the wrong one, whether something should be masculine or feminine. Verbs and knowing how to actually use verbs in sentences. There are some really common mistakes that happen. So for example, students just leave ER at the end of all the French verbs, and that's the part that means to play, to dance, to sing, instead of giving the form for I dance, he dances, and so on. And so you would create distractors that actually reflect misunderstandings that you could actually pinpoint and address. We don't always know all the reasons why our students get something wrong, but you're looking for, you don't just want the right answers, you want the wrong answers to help you be able to design either specific follow-up support for individual students or small group or large group support for the whole class, because the wrong answers that they picked told you something about what they need in order to make a correct choice next time, if that makes any sense. I'll try to keep thinking about some specific examples for you. Okay. And then which of the following can you include? So this was a checkbox question, and checkboxes mean that you can include more than one type. And we hadn't yet talked about all the different kinds of things that can be included. So as it turns out, all of these things can be included in a Quizizz activity. And then obviously there's like, you know, I don't know yet. We haven't even really played with Quizizz. I don't know if we're going to use it yet, but this was an opinion question. So it did not impact your overall score. It was literally just to gain an opinion that I could look at, you know, in order to make decisions later about whether I would offer more trainings on this or, you know, and so on. So I'm going to hit the X to close this out. Okay. You notice here that it has some game highlights, the class accuracy, and I can, the toughest question. So which of the following, it was answered by, and it was only answered incorrectly by 3 of 9, but that proved to be the toughest question. Which one took people, this is an interesting one. Which one took people the longest to answer? So it gives you information because it's not a speed game. It also tells you which ones are causing students to stop and think the longest before answering. And then interesting facts. So in this case, the average time per question was 19 seconds. So that's also information that you get when the game is finished. So now I'm going to hit a skip or exit. Okay. And you'll notice that I'm in my account right now. And so I have on the left my quizzes, access to reports from any quizzes I have previously given, including the one we just did. Classes, which you can either create with Google Classroom or without Google Classroom. So if you're a teacher who's not using Google Classroom, that's okay. You can still create classes in Quizizz that your students can join with a code, and then they'll be in there, and you can assign a quiz to that particular group of students that way if you're not using Google Classroom. Okay. So you either can connect your Google Classroom or create a class, whichever way works best for you. They do have a feature that I think is fairly new compared to when I used it in the classroom, where you can actually send individualized updates to parents and guardians. So they wouldn't see anything from the rest of the class, but you can actually send updates home regarding how they did. This actually allows you to create your own meme set. I have not tried that because I have not had time for that. I just let it use the memes that are available when you create quizzes. So let's go over to actually where you start. You always start with find a quiz. And you can put in a topic. Okay. So let's, this is probably not something I'm gonna like because I picked math and I'm not very strong here, but as you look, you'll see here that one of the things that happens is this one, I don't know if it's very visible on your screens, but this top one, fractions, 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 is darker gray. So those are the questions that are being highlighted on the right. There are 11 questions here. If I like one of them, like reduce the following fractions, 16 over 20. If I, oh, I thought I could, hold on a second. Oh, let me open it. Because there's a way where you can actually pull in individual questions. So you can actually save this entire quiz and you can edit this quiz. And if you choose edit, it's going to automatically save it. It's not going to let you edit this teacher's version of it because that teacher might want to keep using it the way it is. You need your own copy so that not only can you edit it, but so that the scores come to you and not this other teacher who created it. So if you choose save, you're just saving it. If you choose edit, it's both saving and editing. The choice that you make depends on whether or not you like these questions, right? And whether or not you like all the answers. So right here, I can't do anything with them because I haven't told it that I want to edit. But if I said I wanted to edit, it's creating a duplicate for me right now. So that now everything here, right? Everything here is available for me to edit. So if I wanted to add another distractor or a different one, I could change this question. And it's even showing me kind of what it will look like on phones and so on right now. I like how it gives me kind of a preview of the student mode. Notice also there's a math equation tool and a media tool. So you can add an image or audio if you'd like to give audio support. And then you can actually add images as well and type math equations as well as just type normally. But if I wanted to, I could change any one of these, right? And redo it to have different options. I can also add additional options. And this is where I can tag my standards if I wanted to do that. So I would go through here and look at what it has. Oh, good, we have it. And fractions, I'm guessing 5th grade. I don't remember. Select a subject, math grade 5, and then add this standard. So it's not being very precise. Like I wish it had, oh, there we go. Now it's going to let me choose the specific, look, add and subtract fractions. Well, okay, we weren't adding, interpret a fraction, solve it. So I would go through here and if I thought, and this isn't quite right, but if I thought this was a standard that applied to that question, I can actually tag it with, I can tag it with the standards. Sorry, I'm looking for the one that I want. Tag it with the standards so that when they answer questions, my report data also includes reports by standard. Hold on, there's been some chat. Oh, yes, I can change the question word. No problem. I can change the question wording. Yes, like change the reduce to simplify it. So let's do that. Simplify the following fraction because they made you a copy and that copy is now fully editable to you. It is your own copy of this same quiz. Now, one thing to know about that is that the one of the things to note about that is it does mean that the way they make that work is most of the time your quizzes are going to be publicly searchable. So the quizzes you create, other people can also borrow them. And I'm going to hit save because I don't want to. So this is giving them a time limit of 15 minutes to solve this question. You could change that if you would like, but they have it set for the maximum. And then you hit save. Yes, leave it. So you can also edit the title. Okay. And then you have some additional ways to import, like you can import questions from a spreadsheet if you have a spreadsheet available. If you don't like a question, you can actually just delete it and then it will be gone. Okay, and then you can add in additional questions of all of these types. Oh, there is an open-ended one. Good. You can add multiple choice, checkbox, fill in the blank, a poll question or an open-ended question, and teleport is the feature. So let me show you how I got there again. I hit, well, actually it shows up in both, new question or teleport. Teleport is the one that is now going to look for questions about fractions. I don't want to add again. I want you to, come on. I want you to show me the other one. Hold on a second. There we go. It's going to show me questions, and I have a little add button so that I can take this much harder question. Let's do this one. That's more appropriate to the level I started with. I think 2/5 plus 2/5. Hit add. And now this question that came from a totally different quiz is now part of this quiz that I'm making, this Quizizz. And that was the teleport feature. So once you are editing a quiz, you have the option to bring in questions individually from other quizzes that are available. And that happens either by clicking on new question and choosing teleport, or by just clicking on teleport, but you have to be editing one of your quizzes to get that. That's true. I would like some other things out of teleporting too. So it will not, someone asked if it will be synced directly to ClassDojo or Seesaw. No, but you can, but ClassDojo and Seesaw allow you to share a link and code with your students by pushing that out to them through those platforms. So you would push that information out to them. You would probably have to create your classes in here though. That way, the students are kind of already, let me hit done. The students are already in there. So I'm going to say educator professional development and save. Notice I was able to create some classes, and you didn't have to join my class to play. If it doesn't let you create classes with students other than by Google Classroom, which will bring your kids in, if when you click create class, yes, it's not gonna, they're going to need a game link and code like the one I showed you earlier, or the homework link if you're doing it where they can access it anytime. They're going to need that sent to them via Seesaw. And so you may want to give them instructions to please be sure to type their name in a way where you can identify them, such as first name, last initial, or whatever you would prefer so that you know who they are. This is also where, if you noticed, where you actually can decide if you would like to just require the students to enter their guardian's email address so that you can share progress reports, because it will be attached to the student. So that when they come into the game, the email address will be attached to the student so that if you do want to send something home to families, you actually can. This wasn't a feature that was available when I last used Quizizz with students. So unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to play with that one yet very much, that idea of sharing updates with parents. Okay. Let's head back here. I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting something before I move into my next piece here. So we actually tried one as a student. There we go. Hit present and get us back on track. So I added, while you were playing, I added what the teacher can see, both the question view, and it's giving me that accuracy bar as you were playing. And it shows question by question by question. I can actually toggle and look at how, like, 3 correct, 1 incorrect so far on that question. And then the leaderboard view was showing me how people were doing overall without showing me any information on the questions. Okay, so the next couple of slides actually help you get started. You can do this now if you would like, or you can do this later, but you are actually connected here with the link you will need to sign up, create your free teacher account, and then add your classes, whether you're going to do it from Google Classroom or whether you're going to create your classes. You do have to do that because in order to assign it and kind of get the homework type link, it has to be able to say you're assigning it to a specific group. So for playing live, I didn't have to say that you were part of any group. But if I want to send it out for homework or as work that students can do anytime they're on the computer, at that point, I kind of need to be able to assign it to classes so that I can generate the link that I need. So whether you create it yourself or use Google Classroom, either way. You kind of saw the teleport feature live, but here's another little kind of quick video built in that shows you how to teleport questions. And we did a little bit of a live demo already. Notice, don't let this scare you. At an earlier one, I had typed in world geography. There are 402,444 results 4 questions or quizzes tagged with world geography. So that's an awful lot to look through. You might want to, just look for the best ones that you really like to import or use. But it's nice that very rarely, I mean, I had trouble with the ones in French sometimes just because I saw a lot of mistakes, but it's very rare that you would have to start from scratch. You can, but you don't generally have to. Also, what's really cool is you can actually have students, they could create accounts and make their own quizzes activities as a way of demonstrating their knowledge, because what they do in the design of their questions and in the selection of the correct answer, as well as the distractors, gives you as the teacher some information as well. When you're done, or anytime you want, in your little dashboard on the left, there's a reports button. So you can actually get a report, and it tells you at first, just, sorry, if it was played live or for homework, what the quiz name was, how many people played, and what their accuracy was. Now, it was a pre-test, so I would hope that if I had done a post-test, they would have done better. This was actually done during a live demo of Quizizz, so we were not actually providing any instruction on digital citizenship. It was just another live demo, kind of like today. If I click on that report to open it, I will first get some general information at the top. Again, the title, which I can edit at that point if I would like, the overall accuracy, the number of questions, and the number of player attempts. And then you can see that I have pages or tabs. So I'm on the players tab right now. That's where it opens. There's also a questions tab, an overview tab, and a standards tab. So that's where you would get your standards reports if you chose to attach standards to any of the questions or all of the questions. You also have 3 other buttons here, right under on the left-hand side underneath the title. You can take a look at the quiz again if you kind of need a refresher on what the quiz questions were. It will generate flashcards. I'll show you a screenshot of that in a minute. And then it'll show you the live dashboard again if you want to go ahead and play this live again. You can also print or download your reports. So this would be on the player's report, and I would be printing or downloading the player's report if I chose that. So when you look at the student scores, if I had kept scrolling down in that screenshot, I would have seen this. Each player, how many right, how many wrong, okay, accuracy and score, and then an invitation to email that to the parent if the parent's emails have been added into Quizizz. I don't know, and this would be a great question, and I'm sorry I don't know the answer. If you are using Google Classroom, and if you have enabled Guardian summaries, Google Classroom has the Guardian emails. So I'm wondering if when they bring in your Google Classrooms, if it also brings in that information so that if you do click email the parent, any parent who has opted into those Guardian summaries would receive the email because Google Classroom already had the information. If I wanted to see more information, I can click on any one student and pull up a report that's more detailed just for that student. So how many correct, how many incorrect, and how many were unattempted? I didn't give them enough time to finish. So there's a lot of unattempted, but it tells me the question and then the right or wrong answer, or answers, if it was one where they could select more than one, that the student put. I can also, and I'll back up a little bit, I can also look at the questions one at a time by clicking on the report to open it and then choosing questions instead of players. And that will tell me how many players chose each of the right and wrong answers. So in this case, people were doing really well. It's just that 12 players never got to this question. So the 4 players who did get there all chose the right answer. But because it gives the questions out in random order, during a live game, 12 people hadn't seen the question yet. You also have an overview tab. So there was the players tab, the questions tab, and then the overview tab, which gives you at a glance information about each question. And in red, the part of the information is how many people got it wrong so that you can make decisions quickly. You can turn quizzes into flashcards. So if you wanted to review in class that way, you could go to your reports tab and then underneath the title, you have this flashcards option, and it will, you would display, this would be good during a live meeting. It will display the question again and then answer choices. It's not good with question answers that are all of the above, really, although what I did find and learned a bit later is here's the question. You can click on view options in order to see what the answer choices were. Make it, you know, for yourself, study, it's like a little study pack, and then flip it in order to see what the correct one was. So then it can become a study pack for students. Okay. And that brings us almost to the end here. So what I will do is show you one other resource I have for you that's built into this slide deck. And then I'm going to bring you back to the slide where you can create your accounts so that you actually have time, if you wish to stay on with me, to begin creating your accounts and begin designing assessments. But let me show you one other option you have here. At the very end of the slide deck, you have this matrix, and this matrix tells you all kinds of information about a variety of formative assessment tools by using columns with checkboxes so that you can at a glance see which features a given tool has. And as I learn more tools, I try to add it, and you can see I did freeze the top row for you. I try to add it to my list. This list is usually in alphabetical order, although sometimes I add something to the end and forget to do that. So like Edpuzzle is at the end right now. But the other thing you have is you have a link to the tool itself on the left, how-to resources in the next column, the matrix of everything, the features of the tool, whether or not there's a student data privacy agreement on file in California, or if it's not needed because they collect no data, and then any additional notes that I have been able to provide, or in this case, Susan Green provided this one, any additional notes that are able to be provided about this tool that you might not know just by glancing at it. Okay. So that resource is available to you as well on the last slide of the slide deck. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Nicole. I would, yeah, not a personal account. Good. Excuse me. There shouldn't be a delay. The other thing you can try, if you haven't already tried this, did it give you any kind of indication on its end that it thought it was done importing classes, or did it just kind of quit? Like, I'm not sure what happened when you, let me see what happens when I do it too.
Yeah.
And the other thing is might be logging out and logging back in.
Yeah, that was going to be my next thought.
Oops, hold on a second. Say that again.
Oh, sorry. I should probably try that, logging out and then logging back in. The minute you said that, I went, yep, I probably just need to refresh all the.
Right, just kind of set it up again. I want to see what happens now if I just bring in like my practice class or something. Yes, yes, you can have all the permissions.
Now, you know what? Now it showed up. I just have to reattempt and re-ask it, and then everything.
And he was like, what do you mean? I've got classes.
Yeah. It's good. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. The other thing I wanted to show, if we do a new quiz, quiz name, demo, and see, I had to select the class. So of some kind, and I can say other, you know, I can say, and I can give it to multiple classes at the same time if I would like. Next. Okay, and so now it's going to let me choose all of these kinds of options. So fill in the blank can be great options, especially for my teachers working with English learners and my world language learners. And then check box versus multiple choice. A circle as an answer choice is kind of the universal symbol for you can only pick one. A check box is the universal symbol for you may choose more than one. So it can be helpful in the question, if that's the case, to maybe tell them in the question, mark all that apply, or choose 3 of the 5, or something like that, so that they know that they can click more than one response. But if I just pick a simple multiple choice question, as you can see now, I'm going to be doing it from scratch, right? So what is the, some of you have been to my trainings like, oh my God, is she ever going to ask a different question? The answer is probably not. So Sacramento, Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego. And as you saw, I can add an image to each of those. I can even add an image to the top, or I can also add audio. Now, when I click on that, it's going to ask for permission to use my microphone because I've never done audio before on Quizizz, because look, it's new. They didn't have this feature before. And you have 10 whole seconds. So you have to be precise. And even if you upload an MP3 that's already on your computer, you only have 10 seconds. So if I click to record, allow my microphone. Which city is the capital of California? I hit it again. I can play it to make sure it worked. Which city is the capital of California? And then I can save. Now, I wouldn't really save that because I asked it in a different way than the question, but still. And now it's showing me that little preview off to the side of the question and the answer choices. What I have not done yet, I have not told the tool which answer is the correct option. So I do need to select that. And then I need to decide if I want to give them 30 whole seconds or more or less. Now that's for the live games. For homework, I'm not sure time limits apply. Maybe they still do, and then save. The one thing I didn't show you, I can do a new question. I can teleport other questions just like we saw before. I can actually add an image for the entire quiz. Notice it's set to public, but I could make it private. It's set to be in English. I can add grade levels. The quiz quality score is pretty low right now because it's looking for me to add more questions and so on. There's also a nice easy tool at the bottom to add the different kinds of questions by clicking on the version that you want. Instead of clicking new question, you can just click the button to add the type of question that you want. I'm going to exit this one. And I wanted to show you really quickly how you set up a quiz to be homework. So if I wanted to do this one as homework, I first have to click on it to open it. And then instead of play live, I'm going to choose assign homework. It then allows me to give it a due date, anything I want. I can put a time. It's going to require me to put some kind of time in there, so pick a time. Assign it to a class, which is optional, actually. You don't have to assign it to a class because if you hit continue, it's going to give you the information that you need to send out. So it gives you the share a link to Google Classroom, or here's the link that's copied. It doesn't even show me. And I can then paste that into Seesaw or into Remind, or in this case, I'm just going to paste it into my web browser up here. So it actually has the join login plus the little code for game code equals, and my game code is right there. So this whole link is going to be all my learners need in order to get in. They won't even have to type the game code. They're going to just click on that link in Seesaw, click on it in Remind, click on it in Google Classroom. It knows me, so it figured out my name, but could be a place where, depending on how you're sharing it, you might need to train your learners to type their names. And then when they start, they actually get to choose if it has memes or not. They also get to choose if they need the questions read out loud to them. Okay, so do they want music? Do they want sound effects? Do they want memes? Do they want it read aloud? What would they like? Okay. And then I'm going to close that because that's just their join screen. If instead I had chosen to play live, I'm going to hit end game because I've got it set up as homework. So you'll see that you do need to come back to Quizizz and end the game if you set it up as homework so that it can generate the report for you. Okay. If I had decided I wanted to play something live dashboard, I'll be right there. I thought, hold on a second. Oh, that won't let me play it live. That's just showing and it won't give me the play again link. Okay, hold on a second. Oh, there we go. Play again. Okay. So then it's going to do start, and it doesn't look like it has anymore the option for me to choose the memes. There was a place where I could pick the meme set that's associated. I'll have to keep digging into that because I'm not seeing it right now. I didn't notice it when I was editing, and I didn't notice it when I started the game. Let me check the question that came in. No, I believe for the read question aloud option, because there's no option to also read the, we can't record audio for the answer choices. I believe they have built in a screen reader that will just read everything on the screen out loud to them, starting at the top, you know, with one of those, with a mechanical or artificial intelligence voice. I can actually set that up again and check that out. Any other questions about Quizizz? So just remember, at its core, it's basically a way for you to provide questions to your learners with a few different kinds of answer choices. They've actually increased this since I last created a quiz. So now if I was to create a new demo one, if I was to create a new demo one, I would actually model some of those additional questions, like fill in the blank, a poll question, choose multiple correct answers as opposed to only one, and so on. But essentially at its core, you're going to ask your students questions, you're going to get back an answer from them. And for most of those, you're going to be able to get some data on that, because it's basically multiple choice or choose multiple answers. And you'll be able to use those reports either for individual students or for the whole group in order to drive your instruction going forward, as long as you have the information you need from the design of the questions and the answer choices. The open-ended question, it's not really going to be able to do a good job automatically grading those, just because there's too many ways. Like if I actually went back here into this one, if you want to do another open-ended question, hold on a second, let me edit it. It's really, really, really difficult to provide a computerized program with all the possible ways that an open-ended question could be answered. So if I choose open-ended, okay, open-ended questions are ungraded. They're just going to get marked as correct, no matter what the kids write, because there's no way to tell the tool everything it would need to know about all the different variations of correct answers you would accept for that open-ended question. So that's important, and that's important to tell your students, because they're going to get it marked right no matter what they type, and it does not mean their answer was correct. So some feedback for you there, because there's no way for you to go in and change their score on that the way you could in a quiz in Google Forms. If you use the quiz mode in Google Forms, you can review the open-ended question and adjust the number of points that the students get for that question, as well as usually provide them with some feedback. Okay. Any other questions? Alternative. Ooh, it has an accent mark feature, I think. Could be wrong. Yeah, it has an, if you don't know your shortcuts, it actually has a feature for adding in accented characters. Unfortunately, it doesn't, it's not going to be able to do, for example, Japanese and so on. It's only going to be able to do Latin and then the Greek for these symbols. Then add alternative. Okay. And then interestingly, for fill in the blank, can I choose one as, I'm not finding a way to choose one as the correct answer. They're treating that, it looks like they're in any, oh, add the answer in any accepted alternatives. I should have read the instructions. Let's delete these other ones. Okay. Carl, I want to delete you. So there are no accepted alternatives. So I should have read that. Basically, in order for it to auto grade, you have to put in the answer that you would accept if you are someone who would have accepted a capital letter, even though that isn't technically create. And they said, nope, no need to add case sensitive alternatives. Okay, we're done. So we're going to save it. You just have to add the one. And now they will have to type a word And the word that will get marked correct by the system is the one spelled like this. So that's one of their new features as well. All right, so do make sure, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you got the slide deck out of the chat and opened it. If, hold on a second, I'm trying to get this to escape. There we go. And you might recall that if you are signed in to your Google account, and you'll be able to tell in the upper right corner, then you can actually go to the left corner where you have the title, the empty star, and if this is not already in your Google Drive, you won't see a file folder like my icon. Instead, you'll see a triangle with a plus in the lower right corner. Just click that and it will add this support document or slide deck to your Google Drive. I will also be adding it to the district's distance learning hub as well. And then this recording will be posted after the recording is processed later today. It takes them about 2 hours to process the recordings. Any last questions?